The San Francisco 49ers making several roster moves today in the lead up to Tuesday's deadline, in which all 32 teams across the NFL have to trim those rosters to 53 players. Also on today's show, some Niners injury news. A lot of notable players on that list and some injuries that we certainly have to monitor going into week one on the road against the Pittsburgh Steelers. This is the 49ers Report by Chat Sports. I'm Chase Sr. Appreciate all of you for being here with us, and make sure you subscribe to the show, because anytime the Niners make moves like this, we keep you in the know and on top of everything. So hit that sub button as we are on the road to 100,000 subscribers. And of course, hope everybody out there has been able to have a fantastic weekend as well. So the Niners releasing these players up until Tuesday, and the team officially announcing these roster moves as well. But San Francisco, over the next couple of days, going to be very busy with that front office, with John Lynch, Adam Peters, as well as that coaching staff led by Kyle Shanahan, to continue to hack away at this large roster and then trim it down to 53 players, of course, prior to that Tuesday deadline. So Nate Brooks, he has been let go officially. San Francisco pretty set with defensive back help, in my opinion, both with the starters and the backups. I'm interested to see what happens with Isaiah Oliver, a free agency signing that I thought was a good one for San Francisco, but bad in coverage, bad tackling, bad awareness so far in the preseason. Is his roster spot set in stone? We will certainly see. Ladarius Hamilton, the defensive lineman, also has been cut. I like the Niners' depth now at defensive tackle with the emergence of a couple of players, but with San Francisco loading up there in free agency with Javon Hargrave. You have Hargrave and Eric Armstead now on the interior as your starters, and that is a very, very good 1-2 punch. Breeland Speaks, the former second-round pick a couple of years ago by the Kansas City Chiefs, he continues to struggle to maintain his roster position, and it just looks as though he's headed toward bust territory if he's not already there. Kyahva Tezino, hopefully I pronounced that right. The linebacker has been let go, didn't really do much at all throughout the preseason. The emergence of Jalen Graham and Dee Winters, these two late-round picks for San Francisco, both can really play. I like the instinctual element that both of them have to their game, and their sideline-to-sideline speed is real, and it's impressive. And San Francisco continues to be in its bag as an organization in identifying and developing linebackers, from Fred Warner, Azeez Al-Shire, who, of course, left, and Dre Greenlaw, now to the youngsters, Jalen Graham, Dee Winters. But on top of those two rookies, Marcelino McCrary-Ball, I thought, had a really good preseason. He was my choice to fill in for Azeez Al-Shire, but that competition is stiff between Graham, Winters, Marcelino McCrary-Ball, and then Demetrius Flannigan-Fowles. He popped in the preseason too. Very good special teamer. So he'll make this team for sure, I believe, as a special teamer, but can he crack that linebacking rotation? And Oren Burks, the special teams ace, who San Francisco signed 2 off seasons ago from the Green Bay Packers, he's been out for a little while, and he's expected to be ready week one, but the Niners set at linebacker, and then Spencer Wagee, the defensive lineman, UDFA out of North Dakota State, he has been let go. Maybe a practice squad candidate and future Chris Kosaric developmental piece who can play inside and outside. I had talked a little bit about him making a run at this 53-man roster because he was solid in the early portion of the offseason. San Francisco likes that versatility of guys who can play on the outside and in the interior of that defensive line. But when push came to shove, and when the games came around in the preseason, during our watch parties, I really don't remember calling his name at all. So he, too, has been cut in this early wave of roster moves for San Francisco. Now let's get to the latest Niners injury news, and there's a lot to unpack here and a lot to go over. When Sam Darnold dropped that dime to Chris Conley on the near sideline, Conley had to reach out and dive for that ball. He injured his shoulder on the play, went to the locker room after that 34-yard catch, and he has an AC sprain in his shoulder. He's going to miss a few weeks. I'm not sure if he was going to make the 53-man roster, probably not even after the injury to Danny Gray, but I thought that maybe the Niners would have one of these veterans potentially make the 53 as one of the final wide receivers on the roster, just because they could have some veteran experience at one of those spots who they can put in the game and have trust that they're not going to just be abysmal. But now he's a practice squad candidate, I think, who is going to miss some time, and a solid practice squad candidate for a guy who's been in the league for a long time. To the kicker situation. What the hell are the San Francisco 49ers going to do at kicker going into week 1 against the Pittsburgh Steelers? Ladies and gentlemen, this is a problem here. First, Jake Moody was out for the preseason finale because he injured his quad muscle, and he's been competing with Zane Gonzalez all throughout training camp. Well, in the pregame to that Chargers game on Friday, Zane Gonzalez hurt his calf. So Friday's game took this wild, weird, and wonky turn when Gonzalez hurt himself in pregame warmups. And with Jake Moody already out with the quad injury, San Francisco had no available kickers. Mitch Wishnowsky was the one who was handling PATs and kickoffs. Gonzalez, according to Kyle Shanahan, will miss a few weeks, and it's unclear how much time Jake Moody is going to miss. They listed him as day-to-day, but there is a realistic case that both of them are not going to be ready week 1 to take on the Steelers. So if that's the case, San Francisco right now does not have a kicker. They would have to make an external move. Some people have mentioned Robbie Gould, but I don't think you bring in Robbie Gould just for 1 week. I think that he would be the long-term play. Are they going to put Jake Moody on IR so that he's a stash player all this year and then bring back Robbie Gould? That's kind of weird because you're admitting that you made a mistake pretty much. So this kicker situation for the Niners, it's out of hand. Shanahan with this direct quote on Jake Moody: "I've never been in this situation before where we have 2 really good kickers in our camp, and a few days before the final 53, both kickers aren't available at this time. So I think these next couple of days are real important just for us to see how the rehab is going and things like that, and then trying to guess where it's going to be 2 weeks from now when we kick off." His guess, as good as my guess, is as good as your guess. Taylor Hawkins, backup safety. He's the one who missed that tackle when he came up on that 70-plus yard run for Kelly and the Chargers. Long shot to make the Niners 53-man roster. Broken hand is going to require surgery. And I wonder if he'd be a practice squad candidate, a backup player, young player who isn't awful. And you obviously need to fill up the taxi squad with somebody. Cam Latu, the 3rd-round pick tight end out of Alabama. This is actually probably the most serious injury that we're going to talk about on the show today. Suffered a meniscus injury. That's going to require surgery, and it's unclear what his return timeline is. If he's going to miss significant time and the team wants him to play this year, San Francisco will have to have him make the opening active 53-man roster and then go on IR for him to be eligible to return. If he goes on long-term IR, he cannot play at all this season. So that's a pretty big roster decision for a player who's drafted in the 3rd round, struggled with drops, fumbled in the preseason opener against the Las Vegas Raiders when Lance led those comeback drives against the Broncos in week 2 of the preseason. Latu was the one who caught that touchdown pass, made a solid special teams play against the Chargers, but in my opinion, doesn't look ready to play, and throughout the preseason didn't do enough for me to warrant him making the 53-man roster. The only way that he would be because he's a 3rd-round pick. Jordan Mason suffered a foot injury. It's a sprained foot, but it's not a long-term injury. I thought he looked really good outside of that egregious, awful, despicable goal line fumble. So he should be ready for week 1 as one of the factors to be a backup for Christian McCaffrey. And then A.J. Parker, hamstring injury. Late in the first half, he pulled that hammy while covering a punt. Outside shot to make the 53. Had a pretty solid offseason training camp and preseason. He is a practice squad candidate as well. And then this is odd. Talanoa Hufanga has this Baker's cyst. It's a fluid-filled cyst behind the knee causing tightness. He didn't play against the Chargers because of that. The safety is not expected to miss much more time and could be fine to practice in the coming days. Let's hope so. He was an All-Pro last year in a sophomore campaign. Shanahan said, quote, he's been resting these 4 days and he should be good to go real soon. And then Elijah Mitchell, he had that adductor injury a while ago and it's still tight. Shanahan said no pulls or anything, but it was tight. We didn't want to push him, especially with his injury history. That was part of the reason that he did not play against the Chargers, and what continues to be a very frustrating stretch for him. Very solid player, a lot of ability, just simply cannot stay healthy. So those are the Niners roster moves that they have made today, and that is the latest Niners injury report. If any more moves happen, we're going to cover it here on the 49ers Report, so make sure you hit that subscribe button and hope you all enjoy the rest of your Sundays.